I guess the problem for the PM here is that it's not kind of all that illogical to link the VIP blue light escort for Taylor Swift with his personal meeting with her afterwards for 10 minutes. So, was it a thank you meeting? Was it for her to say, thanks for that, I appreciate it?
But also, hang on, Richard, also, why did it take number 10 hours to say whether he did or he didn't?
Because they wouldn't answer the question,
They would not. They just stonewalled and stonewalled. Look, it was obvious to me that the Prime Minister is going to meet this incredibly popular VIP. He's got free tickets, which, of course, he's given back the money because they've now decided in hindsight it was a mistake. Just say you met her. Get it out there. But the fact that they wouldn't stay for hours sort of implies there was something not quite right about it.
He's the only one...
There's a whiff about it.
He's about the only Cabinet member not accused of putting pressure on the police. Actually, you've had the Home Secretary, the London Mayor and the Attorney General. And the Attorney General just says, the police asked, would it be legal for us to give a blue light escort? And he said yes. Because they've done it for other people in the past who aren't royals or politicians. We don't know who they are, because I've noticed the papers, the Tory papers going after him, are very careful to say isn't normally given. Now, if you say it isn't normally given, it's been given to somebody else. Otherwise, you would say this was an exception.
Hang on, Kevin says the Tory papers going after him. The Times backed Labour at the election.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. No. It did not back Labour. Well, the Times, the very anti-Labour editor, did not back Labour. The Sun did on the final day, but nobody felt it really was...
And it's the Sun doing all the running, of course, on this particular story.
I'm enjoying it in many ways.
Are you?
I think there's a bit of nonsense around it, but I'm enjoying it because I can enjoy the discomfort of a Prime Minister who took the tickets and posed for the picture with his wife and thought it was all going to be great.
Oh, I'm surprised you're saying that, Kevin, because actually the thing that occurs to me is, are we really implying that the Prime Minister in some way intervened into Taylor Swift's security arrangements in order to meet Taylor Swift? I mean, that sounds utterly ludicrous.
No, what we're saying is, look, the Prime Minister decided, in hindsight, he should never have taken these free tickets.
Yeah.
That's the point. He's given them back.
But
so
it's the
money. He's repaid the money.
The reason, surely, that he spent all day yesterday, or his people spent all day yesterday, trying to stonewall this question, and they finally cracked last night.
Yeah.
And I think it was the Sun that broke the story after 6 o'clock, having stonewalled all day. It's because they know how it looks.
Yeah.
They understand what the perception is.
Yeah, but do you think that viewers think that the Prime Minister in some way intervened so that he could meet?
I'm sure many of them. I'm sure a lot of them do.
Did he,
I mean, people are very cynical about
Did he
politics.
intervene to get police motorcycle escorts in Cardiff and Edinburgh where he didn't meet Taylor Swift and he didn't go to the concert? I mean, look, this is right. It is getting silly.
I'm sure that he could have met Taylor Swift even if he hadn't allegedly had anything to do. I mean, you know, because Taylor Swift meets many of her fans.
I don't recall in all the years we've been coming in this studio ever talking about a Prime Minister, free tickets to a pop star's concert, and there's unusual... Hang on, Kevin. The blue light police escort. I don't recall any of this ever.
Isn't it? The only reason we talk about it is because he wasn't Prime Minister at the time. It was before the election. So you have to declare the tickets, while Prime Ministers have traditionally, Labour's changing us, have traditionally gone and you just put it in the ministerial interest later on.
This bloke's nose is so deep in the trough. No other MP has taken as many freebies. Hang on, Kevin. Since 2019, £107,000 worth of freebies.
But you know why?
Almost 3 times as much as any other MP. Unbelievable.
As I've explained to you before, it's because Prime Ministers and Cabinet Ministers don't have to declare in the same way. So they go to all these events, but they don't declare it. Now, Labour's changing the law. The rules, so it'll be declared in the same way. Opposition leaders, Prime Minister...
Kevin, no other MP has had his nose in the trough so deep.
They are politically on the same page, of course, because Taylor Swift has endorsed Kamala Harris in the US. So politically they're aligned. And of course, she wants to see people. Yes, people want to see Taylor Swift, but she wants to see. She knows how to exert her power, project her power.
Yeah, she gets her mother on the telephone.
But listen, isn't part of the issue here and part of the perception the fact that he seems to be a bit obsessed with Taylor Swift because he and his family have gone to see her 3 times. He went once, then his wife went on her own, then he went with the family. So he's seen her twice. The family as a whole have
Did he pay ever?
3 times.
Did he ever pay?
Would you go to the same concert?
Did he ever pay?
Well, he paid back, didn't he? Well,
he paid back some of it.
Yeah.
But isn't that a bit obsessional to go and see the same concert?
You're obviously
3
not a
times?
Swiftie.
You know, I mean,
Well, actually, I am, but I wouldn't go and see her 3 times.
How many times have you seen her?
Never.
Right, well, you can't really count as a Swiftie then if you've never been to see her.
Listen, excuse me, I picked a Taylor Swift record on my appearance on Desert Island Discs in 2016. I was ahead of the pack, thanks to my daughter.
I was going to say.
She said, Dad, you've got to have a Taylor Swift
What was it
record.
called?
It was called Hey Stephen. It's a very nice record.
You're not the demographic for Taylor Swift, but I went to see Bruce Springsteen. I went to see Bruce Springsteen.
Is the Prime Minister the demographic, Kevin? He's 62.
But you're not answering my point. That's not like to know what you think. He or his family have seen her 3 times in the space of a few weeks. I'd call that obsessional.
Yeah, how many times did he see her?
Twice.
Yeah, that's not unusual. You take your kids, you can't get enough tickets. Now, look,
Can I just...
he is
sorry,
lucky
you mentioned Bruce Springsteen. Fans of Bruce Springsteen wear it as a badge of honour that they go 10, 15, 20 times. I think going to see your favourite artist a couple of times is not obsessional.
As Prime Minister.
Oh, well, if you're saying it as Prime Minister is obsessional, I think he's just a fan, isn't he?
He's a bit old to be a fan, isn't he?
Well,
what you're suggesting now, Richard, I don't think we should go into this territory.
So is there an age limit for being a Taylor Swift fan? And let me know, because I might be reaching it at some stage.
In terms of... Look, I'm sorry, I find it a little odd that a man in a suit goes to see Taylor Swift.
I know it's a man in a suit.
Yeah, but he
wasn't wearing a suit.
No, he's got his polo.
He was wearing a jacket and a T-shirt.
And of course, Richard, when he's wearing a suit these days, he wears a polo shirt with it too, as I discussed with him at the Labour conference.
Yeah, and you know, he had shoes on when he went. A man in shoes 3 times.
I know.
That is very strange.
Richard, I'm not sure, which particular criticism that you're particularly impassioned by.
It's not a criticism at all. I'm just struck with a degree of curiosity that our Prime Minister and his family have been to see Taylor Swift in a very short space of time 3 times. I just think that's a bit odd.
I also think... I just think Number 10 needs to get a grip. You know, this story has rumbled on for a week. Just get it out there.
Do you know what? I think we all need to get a bit of a grip over this.
But you know what? You know why some papers and news websites are going on with this story? Because you put Taylor Swift in a story on a website, and click, around the world, there's poor Taylor Swift fans clicking on this, thinking, oh, she's going to be eating an orange or something. And oh, she's just with that Prime Minister again.
For the 3rd time. Yep. OK, well, one last thing. Is this the end of it, do you think? Is this the last bit?
No, because you're going to find another reason.
I didn't find the reason. Look,
he brushed his teeth before he went each time.
Weird.
And he wore some aftershave.
I'd have to shave.
No, seriously, is there anything more on the whole Giftgate, Swiftgate, whatever you want to call it, to come out? I mean, we keep thinking it's over, and then the story bobs to the surface again.
Well, it's because this has got legs because he just decided, advised, we understand, by Sue Gray, who he sacked as his chief of staff, to give the tickets back, the money, the freebies back.
Which is only a fraction of all the freebies that he...
Only a fraction, because he decided it looked inappropriate. So that's why this is continuing. He's just worked out, pay for your own tickets, Prime Minister.
It's got legs for 3 reasons. One is he's declared it all, so we can see it out in the open.
Yeah.
All right, so it's all there. And 2, he took a lot of tickets over the years.
Yes, he did.
I'm not disputing that. And people are really angry about clothes and spectacles in particular.
Yeah.
And then 3, the people out to get him. So they're just making hay with him. And it's against the backdrop of the winter fuel allowance cut.
A flavour of what viewers are saying. So we've got Mags on X. I'm glad that Keir Starmer was able to talk to Taylor Swift backstage, particularly about the Southport tragedy, and that's what Number 10 said they did discuss. Plus, Taylor Swift's literally done more for the UK economy single-handedly than anyone or any business in recent times. Richard says, why are people so up in arms about the government freebies? Their favourite film, Popstars, get handouts all the time. Sarah, after the horrific events at Southport, it was right for our PM to meet Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift's concerts in the UK generated vast amounts for the UK economy. So to give her safe and swift travel to the venue, well worth the cost. A couple of other people saying that they are critical of the Prime Minister, but overall, as far as I can tell from comments coming in so far, People actually think it was good that she was here. It was beneficial for the economy, and it was good that they could have that conversation.
And why did she get the escort? Because the gigs would have been cancelled because a week earlier, a suicide
I don't believe
bomb
that, Maguire.
plot.
Come off
She
it.
cancelled the gigs in Austria after the suicide bomb plot over security.
And the police were crystal clear. There was no security threat here.
No.
So
that's why they refused the escort.
They refused the escort. Her mother, her mother, who was the manager, got involved. Pushed and pushed and pushed. So the Home Secretary, the London Mayor got involved. So he did the Prime Minister as well.
And protected the economy.
I wonder if we should do a Twitter poll on it about whether people are outraged.
There was no security risk to Taylor Swift whatsoever.
Which bit, though? Are people outraged that he met Taylor Swift? Are people outraged that he went? Or are people outraged about the tickets?
They're suspicious of the context, aren't they? They're suspicious that he met her because he'd given her a police escort.
But that's baloney.
Therefore,
it's
the
total nonsense.
To meet Taylor Swift. That's what they think. I'm not saying that that's right.
And that's why that's why Number 10 was so evasive yesterday.
And the people,
we seem to have come around to my first question, which was, do we really believe that there was a connection?
And the people who think she got a blue light escort because he got a ticket also think Bill Gates is going to put a COVID, micro thing in.
I'm not sure that there's crossover.
Look at the clocks. It's 6:40. We started this conversation at 6:29. This has been 11 minutes.
So let's talk about...
Look at the clock. It was your fault. You said he's odd because he went 3 times with the family.
He didn't even go 3 times.
No, well,
right.
Twice.
Let's talk about this new law on assisted dying. This is going to be presented to Parliament today. It's being tabled by Kim Leadbeater. She got an opportunity to present it as a private member's bill, and it's going to be a free vote. It is something that Keir Starmer said before the election he would allow a debate and free vote on. Andrew, where do you stand on this? Because I think there's a sense that a lot of people have enormous sympathy and compassion for those who are for assisted dying.
Yeah.
If you listen to Dame Esther Ransom, I interviewed her a couple of months ago.
Remember.
You can't help but sympathise with her condition. She has stage 4 lung cancer. This is what she told me in April.
I had 3 deaths that happened very soon after each other. There was Desi, my husband, there was my mother, and there was our dog. And there's no question that our dog had the best death. We discovered he had cancer, and before the symptoms got painful, we put him to sleep. We can offer our beloved pets a pain-free death, and we can't offer it to our beloved family.
Where do you stand, guys?
I'm with a lot of people who have got reservations because there are many people feeling that they're old, that they're not very well, that they'll feel almost pressured into thinking, I have to have it too. And you have to look at what's happening in some countries, like Canada now is talking, which has got assisted dying, is talking about people with mental illness being entitled to assisted dying. I thought this was about terminally ill people in the final stages of their life. That's my great reservation about this.
That this might open a door
really, absolutely.
to unintended
consequences. And I think a lot of very old people will be thinking very insecure about this, and I think it's very worrying.
And what do we think about what's happened in Canada? Because they passed this law about 8 years ago, and at first it was, as it's being proposed here, and as it happens in Switzerland and 1 or 2 other countries, it was for terminally ill people only.
Yeah.
But now they've extended it to people with chronic conditions, conditions which they'll never recover from, but which don't threaten them with imminent death. Now they are being allowed to take their own lives.
Yeah.
And that's what people... They're worried this could be the start of a slippery slope.
And there's a story in Canada about a retired military woman who'd been in the military, and she wanted help at home, and she was offered assisted dying. That's shocking.
The
pressure is terrible.
The law, I think this applies to England and Wales. It won't change in time, unfortunately, for Esther Ransom, who's very severely ill. But there's lots of different models around the world. I can see campaigners against changing the law pick on Canada. We don't have to go down Canada's route. There's lots of ways around.
Well, what's your personal feeling, Kevin?
In principle, I'm in favour of changing the law. You've got to take into account the concerns of people who are vulnerable, old, disabled, whatever, you've got to take it into account. Which is why you've got to build in safeguards. I think the proposal here is Charlie Faulkner, the former Justice Secretary, proposed similar legislation in the House of Lords. This is Kim Leadbeater doing it in the House of Commons. It'll only really become law if the government gives it time in Parliament, so it's somewhere down the line. But it is if you're 6 months, terminally ill 6 months, and you have to get permission of a doctor who's got to go to a judge.
It's when you get into the detail of how it works and the frequency with which it happens that it does arrest your thinking a little. I mean, as I said, later at 7:15, about half an hour, we're going to be talking to the Canadian doctor, a woman, who, since the law changed in Canada, was passed in Canada, has personally euthanized 430 individuals. In Canada, the doctors actually administer the injections, the lethal injections themselves. It's not as it is in Switzerland, where you have to do it to yourself under supervision. The doctor actually puts the needle in, basically. 430 people, that's over one a week. When you look at figures like that, it does... make you think.
It does. You mentioned Switzerland. If it's legal in Britain to be taken by your family or friends, as I know somebody did, because she had multiple sclerosis and was getting to the bad phase, and she didn't want to go through the indignity and the pain of the last part. But if you get taken with your friends and family to Switzerland and go to the Dignitas clinic, and you're not prosecuted when you come back, unless you've taken them against their will or you have some terrible financial interest, get out of their house. If that's legal, why is it not legal to go to Dewsbury or Doncaster or Dundee or Darlington or somewhere in Britain? Because it means only people who can get £10,000 plus together can actually end their lives with dignity.
Just read your message we've had from Sarah. Good morning, Sarah. Thank you for this. She says, "Morning, everybody. My husband Mark died in February this year. He was 53. He had a lingering, painful death. He wanted assisted suicide as he had terminal cancer. He wanted control, which he would have had with assisted suicide. He was deemed competent as we remarried 2 weeks before he died. Thanks for discussing this. It's hard, but needed. I said to Mark's GP, if I'd had this is Esther Ranson's point, if I'd had a pet in Mark's condition, I probably would have been prosecuted for animal cruelty."
But can I put another point? And this is from one of our guests who we're going to be speaking to at 8:30. Miro Griffiths, been in a wheelchair since the age of 3 because he has a life-limiting and progressive neuromuscular disorder. And he says, this is a damning and toxic bill which will change our whole approach to suicide prevention and will target communities who have conditions like he has. It will have a direct impact on me and my community, on how we are viewed and how our lives are valued. Because effectively what this says is there is a point at which your life no longer has a value and you would be better off dead. That is the blunt, brutal sort of characterisation of the other view on this.
And it's not many people. It's almost an unspoken view.
Yes.
Actually, that's the worry here. The great silent majority. Majority
well, I
or
don't
the
know
minority.
if it's a majority.
It could be a silent minority.
Yeah.
But that is a very important view.
Polling shows most people are in favour of assisted dying in principle. But of course, it's assisted. But we've got to listen to him. And he requires. Safeguards and reassurance. At
the moment, there's a complete taboo on assisted dying because it's not legal. So you just don't... It's not a consideration. It's not something that's suggested.
But
as soon as you make it legal, the concern amongst that part of the community say you devalue our lives and experience. You don't give us the support
we
need.
Susanna, life support machines are switched off in hospital every day. Do not resuscitate is written with a consent. You can do it yourself with the consent of the patient. So people are helped along their way. It's just we don't... we don't go as far.
We don't formalise it.
And a lot of people say we should be spending more time on improving palliative care.
Yes.
That's true.
That's really important.
There are horror stories out there.
Palliative care
shocking. Failing dismally.
Well, that's partly what this is about, is the fear of a lingering, painful death. And Dame Esther Ranson says this isn't about shortening life, this is about shortening death. Nobody wants to see someone dying like that.
At what point, how long have you got terminally?
Yeah.
You know, there's the people who are terminally ill 6
But we
months
need-
live, so then you can have assisted
But we
dying.
need-
But what about the people who then live for 3 years?
Yeah, but we need to be in a position where those who don't want assisted dying will never, ever be put under any pressure in a position.
Yes.
But those who do want it can.
All right.
Right.
Well, we'll continue this discussion. As we say,
Yeah.
do try and join us for our interview at 7:15 with this Canadian doctor.
It was
because she has
massively
quite a lot
rejected
to
in the
tell us.
last Parliament.
Sorry?
It was massively rejected in the last
It's
Parliament
changed.
voted on. But we've got a completely new Parliament.
And a lot of MPs have said they've changed their minds.
They have.
Yeah.
Let
All
me
right.
ask you about this. Not saying hello to a colleague could break employment laws. This is according to an employment tribunal. A recruitment manager won an unfair dismissal claim after complaining that her managing director refused to say hello to her. Apparently, she'd greeted her new boss 3 times when she arrived for work back in September last year, but was deliberately ignored every time. She was ghosted by her boss 3 times, and she won her claim for unfair dismissal. Employment judge Sarah Davis concluded the boss's behaviour was unreasonable. It was calculated or likely to undermine trust and confidence. While it might not by itself be a fundamental breach of contract, it was capable of contributing to such a breach. Well, you better be careful, you guys. If you don't hear me when I say good morning in the morning...
Yeah, we're suing you.
Yeah, you can sue.
But the key phrase is calculated, so it's a deliberate snub where your boss is having a go at you, making you feel...
Passive-aggressive.
But, it sounds not very passive, though. It sounds more aggressive.
It sounds
But
ridiculous.
is that anything to do with the law?
It sounds
I mean,
ridiculous.
Apparently
that's
it is.
just human behaviour, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people...
It's ridiculous.
I find when I look into these cases, and I've done it many times, there's always more to it than that little bit.
Well, there is more to it because the boss was angry that this employee was late. He thought she was late. But in fact, she'd been at a medical appointment.
So he wouldn't say hello to her because he was sulking. But is that anything to do with the judge?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I still
nature.
think there'll be even more to it than that.
I had
I'm
a
sorry.
boss that ignored me.
I'm sorry, you don't.
Completely. Because I just started work at the first television station I worked at, and he was the managing director, and he'd got me the job. And about 3 weeks later, I forgot his name. I was introducing him to my wife, and I forgot his name. And actually, I was so panicked, I forgot her name as well. Honestly.
Well, your wife's
I couldn't remember either of them. Yeah, it was awful. She thought it was very funny. He never spoke to me again. I used to pass him in the corridor, he'd turn away. Now, would I have taken that to court?
I've had bosses who not just not said hello to me, they've said some very rude things
I
to me.
know.
Okay.
And I've not taken any of them to an industrial tribunal.
I've heard strangers shout it in the street at you as well.
You have. Come on, can we just roast some?
No, I think your case with the boss, no. But I mean, it doesn't reflect well on the boss. Yeah, they've got to be a bit of a bigger person than that.
But the workplace is the world in my place.
Yes, exactly.
It's full of different people.
Get over
people who
it.
sulk, people who won't talk to you,
Get
people who are
over it.
jealous of you, people who love you. I mean, it's just
All right,
what it
but
is.
just say there's 4 of you in a workplace. The boss comes in, says hello to 3, and decides
I'm
deliberately
going to never
cold
sleep
shoulder
again.
somebody.
It'll be the
Now,
end of the world.
If it just happened,
oh, God.
once, it wouldn't
Kevin,
it
what's
wouldn't
this
matter.
with you?
But if it happened time after time,
He's just become
it would
complete-
be
you've just
emblematic of wider hostile behaviour.
You've just become completely woke.
No,
you have.
I just like to treat people with respect and
for
consideration.
God's
Well, look,
sake.
speaking
You
of
should try it.
bosses, what do we think about the appointment of a German to manage the England squad?
Thomas Tuchel, what can you tell us about
Well,
that?
I've never heard of him.
Yeah, well, he won the
not
Champions
gonna
League with
pretend.
Chelsea. Look, if England men now play,
Didn't they sack him?
yeah, but they have this history of just going through managers.
But what happened to the bloke who wouldn't sing the national anthem? Didn't think much of him anyway.
But he wasn't up to the
He
job.
didn't want to do it.
Oh, right.
I think
Well, good
he found
riddance.
the pressure and being in the limelight too much.
Well, good riddance.
Does Thomas Tuchel sing our national
I hope so.
anthem as the German manager of the England team?
I probably wouldn't if I was him. No, Sarah Wiegman doesn't, and she's won the Euros with the women.
And
'cause
she's
Dutch.
Dutch.
Yes,
She's Dutch.
I don't think. Look, if they play
you
good
saying she
football
does or
and
she
they
doesn't?
win, she doesn't.
She doesn't.
No, and if they play good football and win, that's great. I would have had a preference for an English manager, but if Graham Potter, who used to be at Brighton, and Eddie Howe up at Newcastle didn't want it, and probably they're not as good managers as Tuchel, you kind of win. We've got a Brendan McCullum, who's a New Zealander at cricket, very successful. Eddie Jones, mixed results at rugby for England. I just don't.
But, Susanna, what was the statistic you dug out earlier?
No nation has won a World Cup with a foreign manager. Every single World Cup winning nation, including England, of course,
Alf Ramsey.
back in 1966, Alf Ramsey, every single World Cup winning nation did it with a manager of that nationality.
Including England with one. Now, if he wins the World Cup, right?
We will make history in all sorts of ways.
We will not give a... We will not give tuppence. Oh, sorry, we won't.
I don't care either. I mean, there's no issue.
Oh, good luck.
Good luck to
Thomas
him.
Tuchel. Absolutely right.
Yeah. Is he a good manager? That's what
I think
Yes.
yes.
He's a trophy-winning manager. So fantastic.
Right. Well, I'm sorry.
All right, Andrew.
I'm sorry. I've never heard of him.
No, you're going to hear a lot about him, so you better get up to speed.
He'll just be thinking.
But he has heard of Alf Ramsey.
Yeah, I have heard of Alf Ramsey.
Yeah.
My mother's family lived in the same street in Dagenham.
Really?
Yeah, they did. That's our family's claim to fame.
Wow.
Do you know what my famous World Cup story is? Is Jeff Hurst, who scored the hat-trick.
Yeah.
We asked him once on the show, what did you do the next day to celebrate? He said, I washed the car.
Yeah.
So nice.
Amazing.
So nice.
And then he'd be a multi-millionaire.
Ford Cortina, I bet, and all.
Yeah.